Hello, it's Tracy Shores, and I'm heavy-hearted today, trying to fight just the heaviness of loneliness, of uncertainty, of feeling like I don't have a foundation. And I know this caused me yesterday, I was thinking about this word, temporary, and really I hadn't necessarily even read a scripture about it. I know that it must have been in my mind somewhere because I know for Sukkot it does say you shall dwell in temporary shelters, depending on the translation, but some use that word temporary shelters. And so when I thought of that word, I immediately thought, oh, temporary shelters. And I wanted to share something about that. And so I've been spending the last maybe 15, 20 minutes looking at both things that are temporary and things that are permanent, and looking at the word tent and tents in the Bible. And I have found some scriptures that are pretty powerful, and I just noticed now that there's a verse that says, it's in Job, I would rather dwell in the house of God than in the tents of the wicked. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because I thought, well, could I say I'd rather dwell in the tent of God rather than the tents of the wicked? But I think what I'm getting here, because obviously I looked at the verse that says, in my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would not tell you, and I go there to prepare a place for you. And so I think that when we see this word house or home, really house, I guess, the house of God, I think we're speaking of something more permanent. But the picture I see, and the word tent is so many places in the scripture, so is that the tent gives us the picture of something temporary. And indeed, anytime we try to make our tent more permanent, I saw some great verses too on the tent pegs and trying to drive those tent pegs in. And I thought, isn't that what we do? We try to make this temporary tent permanent. And we all have different tent pegs we use to make it feel safe, to make it feel good, to bring us comfort in this temporary place. And for me, when so much of my tent is really unsettled, so much of my temporary situation with Michael not being here now, and it's been about a little over just about a year, and just my tent, my temporary dwelling feels very shaken. And I find that there's really not anything earthly. There's no tent peg big enough that I can drive in that actually makes it feel more peaceful or more stable in a sense. But that said, I think, well, there is, I guess there is, I said there's none, but really there is one, and that is the tent peg of God. That recognizing the temporary nature of where we are, but then getting those tent stakes or tent pegs that don't drive into the ground the temporary, but establish for us the picture of this dwelling, of this tent, of this, both my physical body and my physical surroundings as being temporal, and knowing that this is not my lasting home, that I do have a home, and that Yeshua has gone to prepare a place for me, and in my Father's house are many rooms, and it's going to be glorious. And so be encouraged. I'm going to look at some of these scriptures and share them today. There's so many. I mean, I just kept seeing one after the other that gave it this picture that I'd like to create for you. So blessings, and I'll be sharing that later today. Look forward to talking to you. Love you. Bye-bye.